Welcome back to Rumi Gold, where quiet mastery begins. What if clarity was louder than strategy? What if you never needed more to feel full? What if wealth was already yours, but you forgot how to hold it? And what if the game was never growth, but gravity? What if being at peace was the most magnetic thing in the world? Today we explore becoming quietly wealthy, not as a tactic, but as a truth. So, check in. Where are you gripping for answers right now? Where have you been confusing intensity for progress? Where did you learn that winning meant leaving yourself behind? Because under all this noise, scarcity, striving, second-guessing, there's a cost. Emotional tension, lived in the chest and jaw. The dull ache of thinking it's never enough, and neither are you. The whisper that says, this can't last, or it's too late for me. You already know the feeling. You've felt it in the late-night stare at your phone, scrolling for answers in feeds that only make your nervous system clench tighter. If you've been chasing rest by working harder, welcome. There's nothing wrong with you. This isn't a personal defect, it's learned, it's modeled everywhere. Let that breathe. Now, I want to tell you a story. Years ago, a man sat across from me, tired, but not broken. On the outside he had what most would call success. A steady job, nice watch, apartment with a view. But he confessed he hadn't felt safe in his body in years. He couldn't take a deep breath unless he was away from his computer. His shoulders lived at his ears. His mind raced in every silence. His money expanded, then vanished. After we talked, week after week, something simple shifted. He started to arrive in the present on purpose. Every evening, he put away his phone and just sat on the floor. Nothing fancy, just letting himself be. No trying, no tracking, just breathing until his breath felt less like a gasp and more like a homecoming. Over time, his posture changed. His spending softened. People noticed, not his productivity, but his presence. And slowly, offers started to come. Not all at once, not in fireworks, but quietly, the way nature grows. He became wealthy inside before anything outside changed, and that's what lasted. Let that land. You are not broken. You're not late. There is no gap to close, except the one between you and the moment you re-in. You don't need to force what's already natural. Money, when met with alignment, flows. When your vibration calms, your hands open to receive. When you belong to yourself, opportunity wants to find you. Feel your feet on the floor. Notice what wants to unclench. This space is not about empty hype or mindless hustle. You can trust the pace because it's real. It may even feel too slow for your old self. That's the discipline. Soften your stare or close your eyes. Don't brace for what's next. Let it come to you. You're here. That's the first shift. To be quietly wealthy is to know how to arrive, how to stop leaking life, chasing shadows, how to let the room fill you with presence before you even speak. You might feel resistance, the old pattern that says, do more, fix more, say more. You don't have to believe it. It's just old electricity you can notice, then stay. Like a mountain, not a river. Breathe in, breathe out. Sense how little you actually need to control. There's nothing to prove. This space is your invitation back to center. The ceremony of doing less, but being more awake. That's rare. People around you might not understand. That's all right. Quiet wealth isn't always visible at first, but it's always felt. Let this be your arrival. The rest will follow. let's be honest. Most of us learned money the way you'd learn to swing a hammer. Hit harder, hit faster, hit more, and you'll build something big. That's how the old world taught us. More hours, more getting, more grind. But if you look close, you see the cracks. You see people running on empty, working late, collecting a little more in their hands, but feeling emptier in their chest. You see the engineer with the gray face, the single mom, red-eyed with fatigue, the fresh graduate with 6 jobs and an empty fridge, and you wonder, if this is the way, where does it actually lead? Here's what's missing. Money doesn't just respond to what you do. It responds to how you are. If money was just the prize for effort, then every person working the longest shift would be the wealthiest. But you and I both know the emptiest wallets often come from the hardest work. There's a kink in the system. The quality of your presence leaks into everything you build. The tension you hold gets stitched into your emails. The resentment you carry echoes in your decisions. The neediness you drip gets felt across a room, through a phone, inside a sentence. We treat money like a machine, but life is closer to breath. Money doesn't move in straight lines. It moves in spirals. It arrives as a conversation between your actions and your atmosphere, what you do and what you radiate as you do it. Let that echo. Think about craft for a second. The carpenter who builds one solid table year after year becomes priceless. His energy is quiet, focused, clear. Every stroke of his chisel matters. Now compare that to the factory that pumps out 100 cheap tables a day. Noisy, frantic, forgettable. Both make tables, but only one becomes heirloom. Only one earns trust and returns. We've been sold on the factory mindset with our money. More output, more noise, more chaos. But the world is starving for heirloom work, for energy that is rare, slow, and unmistakably rooted. Money, the real kind, moves to that frequency. There's nothing to prove. Here's where we trip up. First, we confuse busyness for worth. It's like measuring the strength of a building by how many bricks fell off the side, how tired you are, how crowded your calendar looks. None of that says anything about the foundation you standing on. The world taught you to hustle, but worth is not found in grind marks or calluses. It's found in the clean decisions, the ones built from calm. Try this. Notice when you feel most frantic about money. Is it when you're stacked with things, or when you move from room to room, chasing but never arriving? That's the trap. We learn to chase our own tail and call it progress. Second, we operate from survival mode. You know the feeling, gut tight, jaw clenched, always thinking about what's missing. When you move from this emptiness, even generosity tastes like desperation. You could be offering the best product, the cleanest service, the highest skill, but people can smell fear. They sense the offness. Even if they can't name it, they back away. The currency is off. That's how scarcity sustains itself. Not in numbers, but in the flavor of our action. You already know this. Third, we set our goals from someone else's script. Social media, school, the neighbor's new car. All of it becomes a hall of mirrors. We lose our own instruction, the still, small voice saying what really matters. And when we build from borrowed blueprints, even the final product feels hollow. You reach the summit and realize this isn't even your mountain. That's why you see people win at business and lose at peace. The numbers went up, the soul shrank back. A story, then. Imagine a young martial artist. He goes to the dojo every day, obsessed with racking up punches, kicks, scores. He's always first in line, always sweating the loudest. But the master watches, silent. One day, the master asks him to sweep the floor with care, not as a chore, but as a practice. The boy rushes through, trying to finish quickly, eager to return to the technique. The master shakes his head, takes the broom, and moves slowly, each stroke deliberate, each movement a meditation. If you sweep as you punch, the master says, your art will be chaos. But if you punch as you sweep, with presence, with patience, you will become invincible. That essence, the quality of the energy, not the volume of the action, becomes the art. Money is just another dojo. Are you sweeping the floor or just kicking up dust? This isn't about motivation. The first step out is awareness, not blame, not shame, just seeing it. Catch yourself in the pattern and breathe. That's the discipline. You're not meant to shame yourself for burning out, for being desperate, for borrowing someone else's dream. You're meant to notice the misalignment and stay long enough to see if you're ready to move differently. See, the difference between struggle and prosperity isn't just tactics. It's the unity. Let's start with a sharp edge, right at the skin. What would your bank account look like if you never again saw yourself as someone scraping by? What if you carried the posture of a man who's already in flow with his finances, quiet, simple, unmoved? And what would actually shift, not on some cosmic scoreboard, but in your bones if you lived from that place? That's not a riddle. It's a doorway, but only if you walk through it. Let's keep it blunt. Money doesn't chase cleverness. It doesn't get magnetized by hustle or loud dreams of someday. Money comes to rest where there's certainty, not cocky fronting, but the kind that says, I know who I am. Feel into that for a second. If you see yourself as a guy who always just gets by, always on defense, always 2 checks away from the edge, you'll keep matching that script. Without even thinking about it, you'll pick a cheaper meal. You'll miss new opportunities before you even notice them. You'll choose safe work, not soul work. It's autopilot. Your body returns to its setting, like a thermostat that can't believe it's time for summer. Here's the catch. When you shift into the identity of someone who lives in flow with financial ease, when you hold that certainty, not as a wish, but in your spine doors, move. You start saying yes where you'd say no. You start walking with shoulders that don't slouch. You are not playing defense. You're not even playing the game everyone else is playing. Let that land. Think about Maria. She was a painter, good, but always apologizing for her price tags, until she decided to see herself as a real artist, not a hobbyist. Overnight, her rates doubled. But here's what's wilder. Her clients didn't blink. They had always seen her that way. She'd just been a step behind herself. Or David. He was a freelancer, spending whatever came in, always chasing the next gig. The day he saw himself, quietly, as an investor instead of a spender, things shifted. He didn't have to force frugality. He just started moving like an owner, not a passenger. There's a difference between trying and being. I had a client who spent years repeating, I'm trying to build my business. I told her, drop trying. Just say, I run a soulful business. The shift was almost physical. Within weeks, she moved differently, attracted different clients. Like her bones remembered something her brain forgot. This isn't about motivation. You already know how this works. If you run a marathon as someone who isn't a runner, you'll bail halfway, even with perfect shoes. Your identity sets the limit, then your behavior makes it real. again and again. Let's sit with that. Here's a drill, not because drills are magic, but because reality isn't subtle. Each morning, just write one sentence. Start with, I am the kind of person who, and finish it in a way your wealthier self would nod to. Doesn't have to be huge. I am the kind of person who expects payment in full. Or, I'm the guy who reviews his investments on Sundays. Now, let's walk through a visualization. Nothing fancy. Just, if you're seated, let your hands rest, feet on the ground. Breathe in the simplest way you remember, like nobody's watching. Picture a man waking up in a room he owns. The floor's cool wood. The air is quiet, no rush, no apology. He doesn't check his phone first. He stands up slow. He looks out the window and knows, with zero drama, that every bill is handled. He knows, quietly, what he'll charge that day. He's not sizing himself up against anyone. He's not the richest in the world, but he is enough. Can you picture yourself there, wearing clothes that fit your shape and life, eating breakfast like you chose it? Not a splurge, not a treat, but just normal. See yourself sending an invoice without a second guess, like you'd pour a glass of water. No tightness in the chest, no secret hoping they'll say yes, just baseline. Remember what this feels like. That's not arrogance, that's embodied certainty. And money comes to rest there, not like a storm, but like a river settling its own banks. It doesn't have to be dramatic to be true. Tomorrow, when you wake, let yourself start again from that picture. Just one detail, no need for a big leap. Your identity is not fixed, it's a living story. You are the only one holding the pen. If you change one line, the whole paragraph reads different, again and again. That's the discipline. Let's take another breath. Nothing to prove, nothing to chase. Just a man sitting quietly in the identity he actually wants. Not someday, right now. Let's begin with a question most people never pause to ask. What if the next level of wealth isn't about effort, but attention? What if everything you're chasing could grow faster, simply by being seen differently? What if the habit is not to work harder, but to look softer and aim more exact? Just feel that, not as advice, not as a lesson, but as a question you could live inside. So much of what we call ambition is just scattered focus. There's a kind of man who wakes up each morning and lets his mind sprint to the nearest emergency. He checks the inbox, he scrolls the news, he picks up his phone like it owes him clarity, when it never could. Thomas was one of those men. Maybe you are too, sometimes. When your first breath of the day is someone else's problem or request, your entire nervous system is primed for reaction. The day becomes a sprint before you've even put your feet on the ground. Every alert, every buzz, every demand, it all builds a momentum of distraction that feels urgent, but creates nothing on its own. That's not just lost time. It's the silent cost of scattered attention. And yet, imagine what happens when you reclaim that hour. Imagine sitting with a blank sheet, phone left in the other room, simply asking, where could value be created today? What problem, if solved by me, would earn more trust, more revenue, more possibility? Picture mapping income ideas for 60 minutes, undistracted. That's not magic, that's productive attention. Not because the world changed, but because your attention found an anchor. Money follows that kind of presence, but only always let that land. Another friend built her life one gratitude at a time. Each night, She wrote down 3 things specifically about money, or flow, or support she was grateful for. Not affirmations, evidence. Sometimes it was a single invoice getting paid. Sometimes just the guts to have a hard conversation about pricing. She wasn't reprogramming her mind with wishful thinking. Within 3 months, new opportunities, unexpected channels, old clients returning. Not luck, just attention, compounding. You can feel how that works. When your mind expects lack, it finds lack. She answered every email. She ran every errand. She padded her days with obligations that felt productive, but actually kept her stuck. The turning point was simple. She started saying no. The first no felt uncomfortable, but each no became a vote for her highest leverage, her real expertise. Tasks that used to steal half her week faded away. In their wake, space, stillness, freedom to think ahead, not just survive. Her business didn't just accelerate, her days returned to her. Money, because what you stop watering shrivels. But you can waste hours with stale attention and build nothing. Or you can spend 10 minutes with focused attention and move months in a morning. Creators know this. Builders know this. The man who rewrites his schedule each night, not to fit more, but to focus deeper. He knows it too. Here's what I do, nearly every day, at least 3 times. I pause. I call it an attention audit. 5 minutes, nothing fancy. Ask, where is my attention right now? Am I feeding urgency, or am I feeding clarity? Which part of me is truly steering this hour? Steer clear, and everything arrives faster, because nothing is wasted on detours you don't need. Let's sit with that. The Tao Te Ching says water benefits all things, yet contends with none. Your attention is water, soft, persistent, silent. Pour it into problems, and the soil grows more weeds. Pour it into what could become. Give it to the project, to the relationship, to your own quiet idea in the middle of the night. And what was slow begins, suddenly, to speed up. Fields fill in, walls get built, emails get answered by someone else. Nothing is wasted. You already know this truth, even if you don't want to admit it. There is no need to dramatize it. Just run the experiment. Today, set 3 alarms, 5 minutes each. Audit your focus like you're guarding the only currency that really matters. Don't trust attention to chance. Name what matters. Lay your hands on the work that ripens you. Most timelines we complain about are just attention, delayed or diluted. But urgency, held in silence and steered with intent, turns slow years into quick seasons. Wealth doesn't require frenzy. It requires fidelity to the thing most ignored. To sit with what matters, without apology, is the rarest act of prosperity I know. That's the discipline. What if you've only been taught half the circuit, but abundance runs on a loop? What if allowing quietly was more potent than striving? What if your next level of wealth isn't about earning, but receiving? What if there's no virtue in refusing an open hand? And what if the real courage is letting it get easy? Let's sit with that. Most never notice how tense their hands have become. Always giving, always reaching for the next thing to handle. It's an invisible current bred into us early. Do more, serve more, prove yourself through how much you pour out. You already know this. It's the exhaustion you feel at the end of a long week. The subtle pride in refusing help, the way your jaw tightens when someone tries to do something for you. Our culture worships the giver, but mistrusts the one who receives. You absorb it. That to say yes, to take in, to let support or money or praise meet you fully, is weak or suspect. That's a story, and you play it out in small ways. Maybe you hear great work, and you laugh it off, shrink it, hand it back. Maybe you wave off help in the kitchen, reply, all good, I've got it. Or maybe, when offered a higher price or better terms for your work, you bargain yourself down before anyone else has to. Let that land. There's nothing wrong with giving. The problem is the imbalance. In every spiritual law, there is an excessive vessel and a filling, an inhale and an exhale. Kabbalah calls it the cup and the light. Hermetic principles call it rhythm. Electricity needs a full circuit to flow. When you only give, you break the chain. You wonder why things stall. It's because you've forgotten to let anything flow back the other way. When Anna stopped deflecting every compliment, her world shifted. She didn't win a lottery or find a secret hack. She just started saying, thank you, instead of diluting the praise. The signals changed, inside and out. Opportunities noticed her because she finally noticed herself. It wasn't magic. It was receptivity as a discipline. A small business owner, maybe this is you, clings to doing it all alone. You wear it like armor, self-reliant, needed, valuable. But it's a closed circuit. The moment she let her assistant take over 3 key tasks, her time changed form. Revenue grew, not because she hustled harder, but because she allowed space for something else to move in. Help, collaboration, breathing room. What you allow grows. And there's the coach, circling the premium offer, afraid no one will ever pay her. Who am I to receive that much, is the question, unspoken. But when she finally tried no discounts, no shrinking to clients, paid in full, the universe didn't need convincing. She did. This isn't about motivation. Every day you're faced with a micro-ritual, the moment of letting it in. Someone opens a door. Someone offers to carry a bag. Someone says your work made a difference. You want to brush it off. That's the habit. But just for today, don't breathe. Say thank you. Let the praise, the support, even the awkward abundance of too much, just be there. No guilt. No calculation. Let it in as practice. There's nothing to prove. Ask, what am I training my nervous system to receive? If you never widen your cup, how could the river ever fill it? Receptivity isn't passive. It's an active muscle. You build it by letting a little bit more in each time. It doesn't have to be dramatic to be true. Ease is a valid signal. Let's anchor this in the body, simple, somatic. Here's a short practice. Sit up straight, both feet planted. Inhale quietly, noticing the air filling your chest. On your next breath, pull your shoulders back open through the front of your chest, as if you're physically making space. Rest one open hand on your heart, the other palm up on your thigh. Close your eyes. With every inhale, picture the air as light, moving in, filling a space that's safe, worthy. Enough. Exhale slowly. Practice letting in something good without bargaining it away. Stay here for a minute longer. This is not performative, just presence. Stay until the urge to contract softens, even a little. That's progress. Maybe this is what clarity sounds like. It's not about earning more, but allowing more. Not about doing more, but holding more. In every structure, there's a capacity ceiling, a container. Your life is no different. What you're willing to receive sets the limit for what the world can offer you. Somewhere, you learned that being full meant you'd stop growing, but real growth, it happens in the moments you let goodness land without running from it. In the parable of the talents, the one who multiplied was not the hardest worker, but the one willing to hold more, to receive beyond old patterns. Build that capacity, quietly, every single day. Let that echo. That's the discipline. So, let's bring this home. This space is quieter than the news cycle, louder than your thoughts, steadier than any hack. If you let it, it will reach into the empty pockets of your day, the moments between phone checks or meetings, and settle there. You already know this. Nothing we talked about here is complicated. But simple is not the same as easy. We stepped away from the scramble, just for a while. No new hustle, no last-minute schemes. Instead, a different agreement with how you hold your own power. Every time you blink, you're tuning your energy, not to fix, not to chase, just to remember. Money answers to energy, not effort, not drama. Let that land. 3 shifts, but not techniques. More like different ways to sit in your own chair. First, identity. Deciding who you are, even when nothing around you looks like it yet. Name the man who has already arrived inside you, not the one still checking his bank balance or inbox. Hold his posture when you walk into a room. Hold his stare when you look in the mirror just after waking up. Identity isn't a mantra, it's muscle memory that builds without even realizing it. Each trivial decision trains you in this. The food you choose, the email you leave unanswered, the way you shut the door quietly. There's nothing to prove. Next is attention. Attention is currency. Spend it well, and it returns. Pour it on what grows. Starve what starves you. Your screen is a gate. Your words plant seeds. Your gaze funds construction or weeds. Sit with that tomorrow when you instinctively check your phone for what's urgent. Ask, does this water the harvest or feed the pests? Attention shapes your inner wealth like a craftsman working with wood. Each cut deliberate, each sanding pass slow and intentional. That's the discipline. And then receptivity. This one most men armor themselves against. We pretend we have to earn everything, even breath. But letting the world deliver without clawing for control is a kind of courage most can't stomach. Try it. Drop the shield just once. Breathe in a compliment without batting it away. Accept a delay as a redirect, not a rejection. Open your palm, not just your mind. Quiet men are often the richest, not because they speak less, but because they don't block the current flowing toward them. It doesn't have to be dramatic to be true. You don't always see how a 7 a.m. journal entry results in a 4 p.m. opportunity. You, Dan T., always know if your patience at the grocery store means your next client will find you. But every cause has its effect, much deeper than you realize. Invisible roots are deepening, like trees anchoring the whole forest from below. Most of the real growth is silent. So practice. Pick one, just one. Identity, attention, receptivity. Let it breathe in and out with you for 7 days. Don't force it. Don't keep a scoreboard. Just notice. Let life show you the links. Write down the surprises, however small. A little more calm in the line at the bank. A sharper insight during a call. A friend showing up out of nowhere. Every small sign is a stone added to your inner foundation. Stability isn't built in public. It's built in the quiet. Let's anchor with what holds. I build from within. I build from within. My calm is my currency. My calm is my currency. I let roots grow deep, not wide. I let roots grow deep, not wide. I direct my focus to what matters. I direct my focus to what matters. I receive without shrinking. I receive without shrinking. I move at the speed of clarity. I move at the speed of clarity. I am unmoved by noise. I am unmoved by noise. I stand in my chosen identity. I stand in my chosen identity. I lead from clarity. I lead from clarity. I lead from clarity. There's no rush. The oak does not hurry. Yet its time comes all the same. Walk gently, think richly, and trust the invisible currents at your back. Let yourself be silently drawn by the stronger pull of what you truly love.